This is Katie with Homeschool Chat. I was a homeschool farm kid, and I would like to talk to you today about homeschooling farm kids. So, being homeschooled and living on a farm is a whole different scenario. Most farm kids, it's a little bit more inconvenient to go into town every day. So, homeschooling with co-ops or using homeschool schools that are a physical location, they're not the best solution. So let's talk about that. You want to work your homeschool around farm activities. Now, there are certain times of year that you're busy and certain times of year that you're not so busy. It all depends on what you do on the farm. If you have animals, what animals you do have, if you have crops, and what crops you do have, when harvest is, when shearing is, all that kind of, when lambing, when calving, when foaling, all that stuff. So I would say that it makes sense to include your kids in the day-to-day farm activities. And I'm sure that you already have in your mind that you want to include your kids in the day-to-day activities because farm life is a way of life, and usually the farm kids end up inheriting the farm. So I would say on a day-to-day basis, if you have a chore time in the morning and in the evening, that you want your kids to be involved in that, and that their school time should be in between that. I do think that if you have the kind of farm where you are preparing crops and there's a season where you're not really doing as much, but there's a good portion of the year where you're always doing something, that maybe sometimes you don't include your kids in that and give them a chance to do school at that time. So sometimes doing minimal homeschool work is what you need. And that, like I was saying, depends on what's going on. If you're harvesting, if you're lambing, foaling, calving, that kind of thing, you're going to want your kids to be helping you probably. So winter is generally a good time for farm life when things slow down. And that's the time when you would pile on the studies for your kids. So what I'm talking about as far as piling on is that these other times you want to do minimal homeschool work. So it's almost like child actors have minimal homeschool. They actually, most of them have homeschooled, or they'll have a tutor, but it's like homeschool. So they have minimal work that they do, and they will work about 3 to 4 hours on their schoolwork a day. But then when they're off work, that's when you can add more subjects. And being homeschooled, you can finish a subject a little sooner than the full year if you spend more hours on it, right? So let's say that you do math and language arts and, well, let's just say I'm missing something that's really important, but let's just say science at this time, okay? So you have your curriculums prepared, and then maybe in the winter time you add history and you add PE, that kind of thing. I suggest for farm kids that have more time outside working farm life than they do inside doing schoolwork, I suggest that you try workbooks and online learning, because these are the quickest things that you can do. You can get through the modules faster and finish. So like if you didn't have farm life, you would finish your school year up early. So workbooks and online learning are the fastest way to complete the job. Now let's talk just very quickly about schedule. Now, for farm life, it depends on what you're doing, of course. I used to spend a lot of time, I had chores that I did, but I also spent a lot of time with my horse. So I would get up very early in the morning and I would be done by noon or earlier. And then I would spend about 4 hours of time with my horse when I did that. So you can do that kind of thing. It depends on what's going on, right? So you schedule to your lifestyle. Do schoolwork when it's convenient. If you're busy in the morning and the evening, then maybe after lunch is the primo time to do schoolwork. So I hope that I've helped you. Please, if this video has helped, check out homeschoolchatwithkatie.com and also on YouTube, check out Homeschool Chat with Katie. Thank you so much. And don't forget to subscribe. Bye-bye.